What are the benefits of secondhand home pieces?
Yeah, there are so many. I get so excited about it. No, I think first of all, as we already talked about, it's sustainable. It's keeping an item from going to landfill. You're giving it another life. So that is, yeah. Personally, it makes me feel really good when I'm buying secondhand. It really
Yeah.
can give you a boost, I think, and also inspire you to live more sustainably in the rest of your life as well, I think. And then secondly, it's affordable too. We already talked about, maybe being on a tight budget and buying secondhand can really help. Of course, not everything is going to be a lot cheaper, especially if you're looking at vintage pieces, for example. But if you can take a bit more time to search for what you're looking for, I think you can definitely find it for a lower price. At least if you're also considering the quality, of course, because perhaps you can find, a $15 chair in a big shop, but how long is that going to last compared to like, yeah, a nice vintage piece that has already lasted decades and will last you decades more.
Such a good point. Yeah.
Yeah. And then my favorite part is that you can find really unique pieces. I love that my home is filled with pieces that, I'm not going to find a friend who has the same items in their homes. And that just makes my home feel more unique. And I think also makes me feel more attached to the items I have. They all have their own little story. And I'm sure I'm going to keep them much longer because of that as well. And the last thing is quality, which again we talked about. If you're finding more vintage pieces, those used to be made, yeah, in a really sturdy way. They were made to last. So if you can get your hands on those, you know you're investing in a piece that's gonna last for a long time. So yeah, everything's great about
Yeah.
it, in my opinion.
Yeah. Lots of benefits for sure.
Yeah.
So, how can someone get started with finding secondhand items for their space, whether they're a new homeowner, new leaser, maybe they're redecorating and they haven't tried out the secondhand market before? Like, what are some beginner tips?
Yeah, that's a good question. I think, like with anything, it's good to start small. So maybe just look for some smaller decor pieces to get you started. And yeah, I'm thinking of maybe vases or plant pots, maybe stools. I feel like, especially something like vases, you find so many of them. So you'll also have a lot of options to pick from to begin with.
Hmm.
And, having small wins at the beginning is really encouraging to keep going. And then if you're looking for a specific item, maybe going for an online marketplace is a better direction than going for a thrift store because you can look for more specific elements. Of course, if you can find it nearby. And instead, if yeah, either if you're doing that, but also if you're planning to go to some thrift stores, I think definitely make sure to take the time for it and try to make it fun, if that makes sense. So, especially looking online, it takes a bit more time. So, make sure you go in with that mindset. And for thrifting, it's nice to pick maybe like two or three shops that are close to each other so you can go to each one and take your time, maybe take a friend. And yeah, for me, it's really a fun activity that you can do. Like I do with my mom, I do it with some friends. So I think if you do it in that way, it can be a lot more fun and encouraging to keep going.
Yeah.
And yeah, like I already said, I think being patient still is a good starting point as well. Don't feel like you have to get something on your first shot, just keep going and keep trying.
Totally. Yeah. I'd love to go furniture or home decor thrift shopping with you. I feel like that would be
Yeah, that
so
would be so fun.
fun. I wish we lived in the same country.
Yeah.
So, for listeners, I do have a guide on my site for like online secondhand and sustainable furniture sites to check out. But do you have any suggestions for European listeners
Oh,
for
I think it
online?
differs a lot per. per
by
country. In
country.
Netherlands, we have
Yeah.
Marktplaats. In France, I know you have Le Bon Coin, but I'm sure it's quite familiar. And then I do think that most countries use Facebook Marketplace. That seems to be
Okay.
kind of across countries, but I don't know
Yeah.
how the quality is in different areas.
Yeah, yeah, definitely. So, something I've heard from people is that they're very hesitant to shop secondhand for upholstered furniture like couches or for things like mattresses.
Yeah.
And personally, I'm okay with couches. Just got a secondhand couch from Offer Up, an app that is in the US. I'm not sure about other countries, but the mattress is kind of tough for me to get comfortable with. So, what would you say to that? Are these legit concerns or are these hesitations more based on misconceptions?
Yeah, that's again a good question. I also have a secondhand couch. Feel really happy and comfortable with that one. But I wasn't that much into secondhand when I bought my mattress, so that one is new. And I mean, I do think the negatives always stick out more than the positives. So it's something that I don't know. Yeah, we're so easily intimidated by it, and I think if you hear like one horror story, then you're like, okay, I'm done. So I
Yeah,
can imagine that. Yeah, in that sense, it's kind of a legitimate fear. But
like bed bugs being in the mattress or
yeah, exactly.
something.
I'm sure that that's the main reason, right?
Yeah.
But at the same time, I was thinking about, if we compare it to travel, we sleep in the same hotel bed as a bunch of other people. And
That's a good
then
point.
we usually don't think about it. So, and that's partially, of course, because they clean it. And I think that's also a consideration. Pretty much everything can be cleaned. Maybe if you can't do it, then maybe you can get it professionally cleaned. I did look that up once, and I mean, you can find a cleaner for everything. So if you're interested, I'm sure you can find that one out. But also, I have bought pillows and pillowcases before, and if you just wash in your washing machine at a high temperature, you know that everything's gone. So I don't think we need to be as worried as many of us are. But I understand, at the end of the day, you have to feel comfortable in your home. And if your mattress is not making you comfortable, then it probably wasn't a good
Mhm.
decision. So,
Yeah, definitely. And there's probably a difference between, getting one that's on the side of the street that you have no idea where it's coming from
yeah.
versus if you can find it through a store or you meet up with somebody and you kind of have that interaction
Hmm.
because when it's on the, on this, in an alleyway or maybe someone left it on the curb, they might have left it on the curb because it had bed bugs and you don't know.
Yeah, no,
So,
you never know. Yeah, I think that's definitely it. Make sure that if you're feeling uncomfortable, you can ask a person, and
right.
also asking questions like if, let's say I'm a non-smoker, so I'll always check if it came from a house where from someone who smokes, things like that. So you can similarly also ask, how long has it been used? Because often people are also selling things that they've used for maybe a month. So
Yeah.
then, you'll really probably feel a lot more comfortable.
Right. And you can ask all these questions or get the answers through these online sources. Like I know on Offer Up, people will often say from a smoke free, pet free home. So if that's something
Mhm.
that you're looking for, maybe you're allergic to, cats and you want to make
Yeah.
sure, like people will tell you. And if you meet up with them, you can like check the item yourself
Yes.
and, you can always say, well, actually, this doesn't match the description that, you told me. And you can always
Hmm.
back out. So I feel like that, my experience with that has sort of reduced my hesitations with secondhand stuff because, like, you can find out this information. It's not as
Yeah,
much of a
definitely. Yeah, and I think also
mystery.
what you say, like, especially if you're able to meet the person in person, you can also get a sense for their personality. I think, yeah, we can quickly, instinctively do that and kind of feel out if what they're saying is true and just ask your extra questions, see the item in
Mhm.
person. yeah, that's also my mindset. Just make sure you're asking what you need to know, and based on that, make your decision.
Yeah, totally. Like all the people I've met up with, they've been really nice and they've been like,
Yeah.
check out the item first just to confirm that you're really interested in that. There's this little mark here. Are you okay with that? All
Yeah.
that kind of stuff.
Yeah,
Because they want
exactly.
to get good ratings on the apps too, and they want to
Yeah.
make
That's really
money. So,
useful. Yeah, that helps.
yeah. So, secondhand shopping can definitely feel overwhelming. And for home stuff, maybe even more so because you have like dozens of pieces in the space that you want to sort of make feel cohesive with each other. So, what are your tips for finding cohesive secondhand furniture and decor pieces?
Yeah. Well, first of all, I also get completely lost sometimes, for sure. But I think the main thing is to start with the plan. So I like having a mood board, some specific colors that I already have in mind. And if you want to get more specific, even having a mood board per item that you're looking for, so you know that it kind of fits in a specific style that's going to match the room. And then, yeah, if you have kind of examples, then you can pay attention to things like the color of the item or the shape. Is it really boxy or more like rounded shapes? And also things like, the wood tones. I think that's also a really one that I pay attention to. I like having dark wood tones. So that helps to be more selective when you're searching and kind of filter out other options. And of course, the hard part is finding the balance between following your plan and then, being flexible, because you can only, yeah, you have the options that are there. So yeah, I think it's good to also try and be creative. Think about if you can change some elements, maybe if you think it might fit your home. Like we talked about, changing the color or maybe replacing the fabric, something along those lines. But then, yeah, from a more practical perspective, carrying photos of the room helps a lot. And then also taking photos of each item that you add and making sure that you have those on hand as well. And so when you're, literally standing next to an item, you can really, yeah, hold up your phone and just see if you think it might help, because
Yeah.
if you think it might fit, sorry, because yeah, doing it off the top of your head probably isn't the best idea. We are not always as good at remembering as we think we are. So just having those images can be a really great guide.
Mhm.
And then in terms of, the order in which you shop, I think it can also help to start with larger items first, because those might be a bit more difficult to find, or it might be more difficult to find the specific item or look that you're going for. Like I know rugs can be quite challenging to find. So starting with items like that is useful, because then you've already, yeah, you're not narrowing down too early. And then when it comes to decor, there's a lot more options out there. So then it's easier to align with the larger pieces you already have.
Totally.